So, the new Call of Duty is being released, set in the Cold War. I can't wait to go online and see people complain about how political it is. That's always fun. Oh, wait a minute. My phone's vibrating. Someone's calling. One sec. Hello? Yeah, no, I'm just recording the intro to my Blastcast. What? What do you mean no one cares the new Call of Duty is political? People have been complaining about that for literally years now. Uh-huh. Yeah. They don't care that it's going to be historically inaccurate too? They've been complaining about that as well. Oh, okay. They do, however, care that there's gender neutral options in it. That makes sense. Sure. Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking to you either. Anyway, today this episode is about how The Last of Us 2 completely broke the internet, and we're going to be discussing that in the next 15 minutes or so. So, buckle up and enjoy. They really don't care. That's weird. Almost like the decade-long hissy fit they've been throwing about those two things is complete crap. I recently completed The Last of Us 2, and personally, I loved it. I really did enjoy it as a game. The duality of man, how much will a person do for love and revenge, the collateral damage from two people who are arguably justified in their respective missions. I thought it all came together to tell a passionate story of the human condition. Now, of course, that isn't to say everyone needs to share that sentiment. I'm of the mindset that video games are art, and like most art, it is subject to interpretation and people's personal opinions. I'm also big enough to accept that someone else is going to have different opinions than me. Obviously, if you, the person watching this video, found yourself of the opposite opinion to mine, then I completely support that conclusion. You have every right to disagree with me and say you don't like anything about The Last of Us 2. You do you, bud. Knock yourself out. The sensible discussion about this game absolutely exists, and it's the majority of the conversation I've personally seen. However, that's not what this video is about. I would love to say this video is a well thought out reasoned discussion about the themes and deeper meaning in the game itself, because for anyone who played it, the game has deeper meaning coming out of every crack. No, sadly, we're going to talk about the smaller minority of people who are loudly throwing the biggest, most pathetic of hissy fits about The Last of Us 2. Where most sensible, responsible, not insane gamers will merely have a discussion where they lay out their issues and discuss these issues in depth, a very vocal, small gaggle of gamers are blowing up every comment section under an article or video about The Last of Us 2 with the most vile and depressing rage vomit I've ever seen. My day is ruined. What a disappointing, boring story, and snow is suck as FFF. Jewish, 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 Jewish propaganda. Neil Druckmann has taken my child away from me and caused an event so massively disappointing and egotistical that the gaming industry died. F. Neil, this post is addressed to you. Why did you put propaganda of your values into the game? Many people do not share it. You did it on purpose. This first part was great. The plot of the second part is complete nonsense. I like the gameplay, but the story is pure nonsense, and also with propaganda. I don't understand where all the anger is coming from with The Last of Us 2. I have no idea why The Last of Us 2 is even controversial. Is it the LGBT stuff? I'm not sure why that matters. It's not done in any kind of inappropriate way. Certainly the numerous deaths throughout the game are more shocking than watching two women kiss, right? Honestly, it's really only brought up in the game twice. In the beginning, where the bartender calls Ellie a slur, and later in the game where Dina and Ellie own a farm. Most of the game, it's not even a thing. Some people will argue that there's rainbow flags at one point in the game, and I can't see why that even matters. It's in a small area very early on, and I just don't see why it's a big deal. There's a lot more stuff in this game that's a lot more shocking than two ladies having a relationship. Maybe it's the story? A lot of people seem to not like the morally ambiguous nature of the game's story. People don't seem to like that there's no clear-cut bad guy to resist. That's a tad weird because there are plenty of games that have that kind of story. Assassin's Creed 2 didn't end with Ezio killing Rodrigo Borgia. No one blew up the internet about that one. Ezio never got revenge. The morally ambiguous slant of the tale can't be the issue either, as there have been other hit games with a similar theme. Red Dead Redemption is a perfect example of a bad guy being the main protagonist. Hell, Red Dead Redemption also ends with the protagonist dying. Where's the outrage over Red Dead Redemption? I don't know about you guys, but when that game came out, I certainly don't remember Justice for John Marston petitions being on the internet. I have bad news to report. I won't be able to finish The Last of Us 2. Is it Abby? I don't see why it's Abby. There are plenty of video games where you play as an anti-hero or play as straight up the villain, and contextually in the story, Joel would have obviously been the bad guy to someone else. He kills a lot of people. I find that the resentment for The Last of Us' sequel is more a combination of all of the above factors, that together, these things were incredibly offensive to a small number of people. You know, the usual suspects, the anti-feminists, the anti-LGBT crusaders who throw a fit anytime one graces the screen. Your normal malicious dickheads that can't stand anyone getting representation but straight, white guys. I've made videos in the past speaking about this type of internet reactionary who flies off the handle and does everything they can to ruin media they don't like for everybody. The example I used back in the day was a video game that never got released called Routine. This game was specifically ridiculous because no one had spent any money on the game. No monetary value was provided to Routine that people could get mad about. People sent death threats to the devs for the mere crime of just not releasing the game. And these kind of people latched on to The Last of Us 2 and spent the better part of 2 months hissy-fitting across the internet at anything and everything associated with the prestigious sequel. Actually, who am I kidding? They're still complaining about it. Metacritic was swamped in negative reviews of all caps comments bemoaning the SJW agenda that dared to show any kind of story other than the one we saw in the previous game. An event that was so intense and unwarranted that Metacritic had to remove some of the more bigoted comments and lock reviews on new products for 36 hours. They literally changed their policies on reviewing in response to these people. A hilarious part of the Metacritic story was that thousands of reviews were cast before anyone could have actually completed the game. The Last of Us 2 has a gameplay time of around 20 to 30 hours, yet 7 hours after the game's launch, there were an insane number of reviews. People who had either played only a small portion of the game or didn't play the game at all cast reviews saying it was the worst thing ever created. And I'm sorry, but there is no fucking way that The Last of Us 2 is the worst thing ever, because the worst thing ever is Ride to Hell Retribution, and you can't change my mind about that. The franchise is all about the story, and they completely ruined it. Stop using video games to push liberal woke agenda. In all this ill-tempered review bombing, anti-Last of Us 2 individuals decided the real, true game for gamers was going to be Ghosts of Tsushima, a game that was going to focus on story over politics and wasn't going to bow to the SJW agenda. A game that was complimented as having an Eastern style that was going to show Neil Druckmann, later titled Neil Cuckman, how to tell a story. The only issue here, of course, is Ghost of Tsushima wasn't made by an Eastern game studio. Sucker Punch, who developed the game, is an American game company based out of Bellevue, Washington. And Ghost of Tsushima included seemingly political elements such as them LGBT characters and an invasion by Mongols, which is part of a larger war. And as we all know, if there's anything that's not political, it's war. Currently on Metacritic, Ghost of Tsushima has a plethora of reviews that mention The Last of Us 2 as an example of a bad game and that Ghosts is a good game. Which is honestly sad that people decided to drag Ghost of Tsushima through the mud in their online bitch fest about a game most of the people complaining about it didn't even play or finish in its entirety. 10 out of 10 graphics, 9 out of 10 story, 10 out of 10 gameplay, best samurai game I have ever played, and I love that they didn't include gay shit like Neil Dickman put in La Opu 2. And I just have to say, I feel so sorry for Sucker Punch developers. It must feel awful that one of the reasons a bunch of people played and enjoyed their game was because a group of assholes wanted it to be better than The Last of Us 2. It's incredibly offensive to constantly compare a game bred from hard work and creative vision like Tsushima to The Last of Us 2. That the only value Ghost of Tsushima seemingly has to these people is that it's not The Last of Us 2. People even went online and lied to try and make The Last of Us 2 look bad, like when people said Ghost of Tsushima destroyed The Last of Us 2's sales record, which it didn't. Ghost of Tsushima currently holds the record for fastest selling new IP, not fastest selling game overall. It still sold less copies than The Last of Us 2. And I know what some of you are wondering, oh, well this just ended at Neil Druckmann, right? No, it didn't. Even individuals who weren't involved in the game's writing and creation weren't immune from the ire of these keyboard toddlers. A plethora of side employees who worked on the game, who themselves had no direct involvement in the story elements, had to deal with the shittiest of people. The most prominent of which was the voice actor for Abby. Laura Bailey got the privilege of receiving death threats for the crime of merely voice acting the character of Abby, as she was employed to do. A whole host of letters blaming her for the death of a fictional character in a goddamn video game. People just for some reason do not like Abby. Plenty of posts online just being weird about it, saying that Abby's body type is unrealistic, focusing on these really dumb things that don't have any impact on the actual character. Despite the fact that, yeah, women can have muscles because Abby was modeled after a real-life person. I even found this super hilarious Reddit post where people used FaceApp on Abby to make her more attractive, and I gotta say, it's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, what's weird there? Being buff, that's not realistic, but looking like a supermodel in the apocalypse, that's totally accurate. As if that's not insane enough, Neil Druckmann, award-winning writer, was attacked online as being a lazy writer. Yes, folks, that's correct. The man who created the character of Joel, the man who literally breathed life into that character with their writing, is themselves a lazy writer. Because all of a sudden, revenge stories are bad writing. I mean, Moby Dick is a classic masterpiece, but fuck you if you think revenge stories are good, right? I mean, it's not like revenge stories get modern day praise. Oh, wait. That's right. John Wick happened. The lady who programmed the lighting for the fucking game is online getting harassed by people. And if you thought that the shit-throwing competition was relegated to just Naughty Dog employees and voice actors, well, you would be stupidly wrong. Because of course, the morons sending death threats and throwing hissy fits about fictional characters would absolutely start attacking reviewers. A prominent YouTube reviewer, Girlfriend Reviews, praised the game and its elements and was quickly accused of being paid to give the game a good review. In fact, most every positive review of the game had at least one comment claiming the review was bought and often continued to attack the reviewer as a hack and a lazy journalist. Are you guys getting deja vu vibes yet? Apparently, everyone involved in The Last of Us, whether directly or indirectly, are just lazy cash-grabbing SJWs. Because clearly the only way to explain the praise this game got was to accuse everyone of some grand conspiracy where they're all working together to, I don't know, mislead gamers? Or something? I don't really know what the conspiracy is here. I don't really know how this even is a conspiracy. A senior editor at IGN, Jonathan Dornbrush, is getting made fun of over on Reddit because of his looks. If you needed any real-life example that the issues with this game aren't story-related, it's this right here. Because the issue with this reviewer is that he liked the game and looks like a regular person. I can't figure out what his looks have to do with anything, or even how he looks weird. It's so confusingly cringy. I mean, The Last of Us 2 broke the internet. The video game was so offensive to these people, they did their best to set fire to everything and everyone in the game's proximity. Devs, actors, reviewers, coders, writers, even YouTubers who just played the game. I have not ever gotten the opportunity to see something literally affect these morons this severely. I mean, they really pulled out all the stops. I've seen review bombing, I've seen people harassing people on Twitter, but I've never seen it be a coordinated effort over this long. It is truly, truly pathetic. Jocelyn Mettler, a lady who just let her face be used for the model of Abby's face. Okay, she gets attacked on Twitter for having no part in the game aside from being the face of a character. Literally didn't write the story, literally didn't do any voice acting, literally didn't code it, didn't promote it, didn't do anything, and she gets attacked online by people. A whole subreddit was seemingly created to just attract man-children so they could circle jerk about how bad they hate women, or lament that the characters were gay and not attractive, or this one example of them calling Diane Jewish, or making fun of her big nose. I don't know. And it's awfully sad, huh? A whole group of gamers get to now deal with the stigma of all these assholes being part of the same community, especially since this whole hissy fit hasn't gotten them the retribution they so desperately wanted. The Metacritic score sits at more than half of reviewers praising the game. A Metacritic score that started out at 3.2 inched up steadily over 2 months to finally arrive at 5.1. An online petition that was trying to force Naughty Dog to rewrite the story ended in an utterly hilarious post that just said their message was sent. That they got their message across to Naughty Dog, and they did their best, and they showed Naughty Dog that we will not take it anymore. Even though the Change.org petition garnered less than 60,000 signatures. And the person who created the petition, get this, it's the best part, pathetically named themselves Joel fucking Miller, of course. I can't, even admittedly, they knew from the get-go that there was no hope of a rewrite, that they just made the petition because they were super upset that a video game wasn't tailor-made specifically for them. I mean, like, this level of comedy, you can't write it. This is spontaneous humor right here. I haven't had this much of a chuckle in so long, guys. I would just like to say at the end of this video, thank you for keeping this conversation as civil as you have. I've talked with plenty of you, the ones who don't like the game but aren't gonna, be babies about it. I just want to say thanks for not making this worse than it already was. The ones who didn't spew hate and act like man babies in comment sections, the people who gave their opinion and didn't condemn or insult anyone who thought different, I appreciate you. I think you guys are the future of America. And to the ones who did act like assholes, just real quick, let me chat at you as well. Go fuck yourselves.